Welcome to Up Close and Personal with Keith Urban, a music special featuring songs from Keith's new album, Fuse, plus an exclusive interview. Here's your host, Tish Iceton.
Hello, Keith.
How are you, Tish?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well. Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to hear you. You know when you walk out into the crowd
Yes.
at a show?
Yeah.
I've touched you twice and have never washed my hands.
I don't believe I'd have told everybody that. You know, I'm actually staring at my hand right now, and I have about 8 or 9 scrapes and cuts all over my right hand as I speak that are slowly healing, and that's all from going through the crowd.
And you know, they're pretty rough. I saw you
It's
on
a
Friday
rough
night.
crowd.
There was a gal who had you in a headlock and kissed you as you walked by. Do you remember that?
I get a lot of headlocks, and I'm very good at getting out of headlocks. Yeah.
Well, you'd have to be the way you go right up into the crowd. You're very brave when you do that. You know that.
Brave's one of the adjectives, yes.
Yeah. I'm sure there are others that others could come up with. So here we are, Keith Urban. So nice to be able to talk to you. We've got a brand new album to talk about. It is called Fuse. You're out on the Light the Fuse tour. 13 tracks, a couple of deluxe tracks, extra tracks on the album. You either co-wrote or co-produced pretty well everything on the new disc. Got a couple of duets, and of course you've invited some of the best Nashville songwriters ever to be on the new album. If you could explain Fuse in a little nutshell to your fans, how would you describe it?
It was a big project to undertake because of the amount of people that I was going to start working with. But in a lot of ways, it was just, I wanted to take my sound to new places, see how far I could take it before it doesn't sound like me anymore, and then step back a little bit. I wanted to just see where we could go, and there's a lot of people I wanted to work with, and I also wanted to make a very coherent album. It took a good couple of years and a lot of trial and error with lots of different people, but slowly but surely, all these songs started to come together, and before I knew it, it was finished and this album Fuse emerged.
Well, we're going to cherry pick, shall we say, right off the top and kick off our special with Even the Stars Fall for You. We're up close and personal with Keith Urban. There's Keith Urban, Even the Stars Fall for You. That is one of the new songs that you've worked into the Light the Fuse tour, which, by the way, this show, it starts a little differently. Whose idea was that?
I wanted to do the sort of anti-opening of a show. And we've certainly had shows where, you know, it's a massive, bombastic, big, you know, cinematic thing, and explosions, lights, and music, and all this sort of stuff. And I just thought, well, the antithesis of that would be to just walk out on a completely fully lit stage with all the house lights up, pick up an instrument, start playing, and then bring everybody out one by one and slowly build the thing. But the idea of it was to just be transparent and be there and be a part of everybody and have everybody in the audience feel like we're a part of you tonight. There's nothing separating any of us. We've all got the house lights on full. Let's start like that, and then once we're all connected, let's go into the show.
Well, it works. It sounds really, really good.
Thank you.
Loved it. So we continue to talk about the album Fuse. We are up close and personal with Keith Urban. Song about regrets, song about remorse. You know, we're talking about shame. Give us a little quick rundown on that tune and how it found you.
Yeah, I found this song. It got sent to me, and wow, it just hit me. It just really hit me as a such a raw, honest, confessional song. It wasn't trying to be some really fancy, dense poetry. It wasn't trying to be anything other than very conversational, very direct, and for me, quite a powerful song. So I hope people feel the same.
Yeah, it's great. Let's listen. It's Shame. Up close and personal with Keith Urban.
We're Up Close and Personal with Keith Urban, featuring music from his new album, Fuse.
That's a good thing from the new album Fuse. We're up close and personal with Keith Urban. You have a couple of duets on this new album, including one with Miranda Lambert. Now, how the heck did you get this gal?
I phoned her up and said, "Hey, Miranda, I've got a song."
It was that easy?
It really is. It's that simple. And
you Nashville cats are too much.
I know. When I played on the Tim McGraw song with Taylor Swift, it was the same thing. Tim called me. He goes, "I got a song. Would you play a solo on it?" I said, "Yep." It's literally that easy. And so I did the same thing with Miranda, sent her this song, which was written as a duet, and she was the only person I immediately wanted to do the song with. She opened some shows for us many years ago, and we would do a song together at the end of the night, and I always loved singing with her. I just felt like our voices went together really well. So for years, in the back of my mind, I've thought, one day the song will come along, and it will just be the right one. And I think this was the one. So I'm glad she came in. She spent a day in the studio with me. Blake came with her, and he hung out, and we went in the studio, sang the song, and We Were Us was born.
Let's hear those great voices. Miranda Lambert along with Keith Urban. The new album is called Fuse, We Were Us. We're up close and personal. We Were Us, Miranda Lambert and Keith Urban. The new album is called Fuse. Blake Shelton, of course, Miranda Lambert's husband. Very public guy. I mean, he's crazy, first of all, on Twitter. Celebrity magazines, they're all over the place. How is it that you, married to an A-list actress, very rarely show up in the celebrity magazines? What is it that you do differently than everybody else?
Well, I mean, we just try and live a quiet life as best we can. It's not easy to do, but it's something that we crave, and a lot of the times go to great lengths to keep it as private as possible. And sometimes it's, it literally requires work to keep it private, but that's what we strive for.
Well, you do a very good job, and it's nice to see, because when we do see you together, everybody looks very happy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of happy, there is a tune on the album that I really dug. Brett James, one of the great, Nashville sandbox songwriters, as I like to refer to him. He co-wrote the tune. It's called Red Camaro. Tell us about that song finding its way to you.
Yeah, I worked with a guy called Mike Elizondo, who was the co-producer on this track. And we just started working on this piece of music and this groove and this idea. I know Brett a little bit, and I'd never gotten to write with him before. So given that this album started out with me wanting to write with people I'd never written with before, Brett was on that list. So he came into the session, and the three of us, before we knew it, we had this song. Brett said, I think we should call this song Red Camaro. And I had the idea about thinking about all the things that never change with time. No matter what age you're at, everything in this song is always relative to the time. And you could be, even today, you could be in college doing everything that this song talks about. And it could have been 50 years ago, and you would still be doing everything in this song.
It's a whole lot of fun. Let's listen. Red Camaro, we're up close and personal with Keith Urban. There's Red Camaro from the album Fuse. We are up close and personal with Keith Urban. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a great-looking panel.
This is Up Close and Personal with Keith Urban, an exclusive chat plus songs from his new album, Fuse.
Welcome back. I'm Tish Iceton. So we know for sure that it's going to be Jennifer Lopez, Harry Connick Jr. on the panel with you as judges for the next season of American Idol. So there's a real good chance that you and Jennifer Lopez are going to be sitting beside each other. That's a lot of good looks in one place. Do you think the television viewing audience is going to be able to handle that?
I hope it happens. I'd love to be next to Jennifer. I think that would be a really fun panel. Officially, I guess more should be revealed, as they say.
The other good-looking panel I want to talk about is when you look for tour members, like guys to come with you out on tour, do they have to supply like an 8x10 glossy? Because you have one of the hottest-looking bands. Even Chris, the drummer, is pretty hot in a teddy bear kind of way.
I've had this band for a few years now, and
what's happening that they keep getting better looking?
Well, I'll pass that on. That's very sweet, Tish. Thank you.
Yeah, they were really hot. I was just like, woo, okay. Not only is Keith there, but we've got everybody else. Let's hear a tune. You want to talk about Red Camaros in high school. I thought Black Leather Jacket was one of those retro kind of tunes. Would you agree? Definitely.
And I love this song. Somebody sent me this song, and I just thought it was a great imagery song. No use me rambling about it. Why don't I let the song do the talking?
Here we go. It's Black Leather Jacket from Fuse. We're up close and personal with Keith Urban. Black Leather Jacket, see? It spoke for itself. Little retro stuff going on there. I'm Tish Iceton. We are up close and personal with Keith Urban. The new album is called Fuse, and you have another duet. This time around, Eric Church stops by. He has had like the best 18 to 24 months of his career, without a doubt. Raise 'Em Up is the name of this tune. Now, how is it that Eric came to be on the album?
He really has had a lot of success, and it's so deserved. He's an extremely talented artist, in my opinion. An album like Chief only comes along once every 20 years or so. It's extraordinary. I've been friends with Eric for a couple of years, and we text each other a lot about new artists or older old records we grew up with, and we're sort of always hipping each other to new music. And this song came along. I wanted to do something with him on this record, and I thought, much like Miranda, if I find the right song, I'm going to call you. And sure enough, Raise 'Em Up got sent to me. I would also say that I consider Eric to be a very cinematic Americana mainstream country artist, modern country artist. He's just extraordinary. But there's a cinematic quality to Eric. So when I heard Raise 'Em Up, it struck me as a very cinematic song. And he was it. I sent it to him, and he absolutely loved the song. And within no time at all, was down in the studio singing with me.
Well, let's hear the result. Eric Church and Keith Urban. The new album is Fuse. Here is Raise 'Em Up. Raise 'Em Up, the duet, Eric Church with Keith Urban on the new album Fuse. Now, you talked about Eric Church's album Chief, the one that's, comes around just only maybe once in a lifetime. I've seen Eric many times, actually, but he was always an opening act. Along comes Chief, and along comes Jay Joyce, who is the producer of that album and also produced the Little Big Town Tornado album, which turned out to be very big for them. And I noticed that you've got some Jay Joyce co-producing credits on your new CD. What is it that makes Jay like the go-to guy and the hot guy in Nashville these days? What is it about his producing that seems to be working?
He's just got a different take on things. He's got a particular raw rock and roll alt spirit, like alt country rock blend fusion spirit thing. He's just got his own thing going on right now. And I've been trying to work with Jay for a few years, but it's just never worked out. And for this album, we actually talked about, writing. So we wrote a song called Lucky Charm that's on this album. And it was so much fun writing with him that we ended up doing another song called Love's Poster Child, which neither of us wrote, but it just felt like a good song to do together. So that's how we ended up working together.
Well, that's the one that we are going to lay on everybody. Love's Poster Child. Little rocky number, shall we say?
It's a little bit different.
It's a little different. Let's enjoy. We're up close and personal with Keith Urban. See, we knew that you would like it. Love's Poster Child, co-produced by Jay Joyce and Keith Urban on that particular tune. It is up close and personal. We're talking about the new album Fuse. And I noticed back in April, one of the greatest performances, one of the greats, probably, I'm going to venture out to say that it was one of the greatest nights in your life, even though you haven't told me this, because I know you got to hang out with some of the hottest guitar players on the planet. We're talking about the Eric Clapton Crossroads event that took place at Madison Square Garden earlier this year. When you came out on stage, you talked about your gratitude for the fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other and help each other solve their common problem. Your gratitude really touched me. It's so good to see somebody living and enjoying life. What's the difference from a place of gratitude writing songs today from where you were before? Well,
I also want to say Crossroads was the right place to acknowledge that because, that event is all about the Crossroads facility in Antigua that Eric started up for people like us. So I was particularly, honored to be a part of that event. Gratitude to me is just ever expanding and deepening as I keep being able to keep doing what I do, and of course being a father and a husband, and it's something that is so present in my life more than ever before. And walking out on stage every night, it's never felt like it feels on this tour. And I can see it in the audience too. There's a reciprocal kind of energy coming back to us on this particular tour that I've never experienced before. Even the band were talking about it last week. They just said there's just something going on in this crowd on this particular tour like we've never seen before. It's really exhilarating to be a part of it.
One of the songs on the album that I really felt gave us a lot of gratitude that you co-wrote, She's My 11. We're going to dig that tune now.
Okay.
She's My 11. We're up close and personal. Talking to Keith Urban. The new album is called Fuse. And when we come back, we'll squeeze in one more tune and we'll talk about something that goes on in that Aussie house in Nashville.
We're up close and personal with Keith Urban, featuring music from his new album Fuse. This is Up Close and Personal with Keith Urban, an exclusive chat plus songs from his new album Fuse.
You're up close and personal. We're talking to Keith Urban. It is the new album Fuse. Now, here you have two Aussies living in the heart and soul of country music in Nashville. What can you tell us that's really Aussie about your house that you and Nicole kind of pass along to your kids? Any one thing in particular? The food you eat? Any habits?
I don't know that there's that. I'm sure there is specific things, but I don't know what they are because they're so normal to Nick and I. It's almost like you'd have to ask someone who visits us, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't think there's any particular food that's unique in any way. I've lived in Nashville now for 21 years, so it feels so much like home. You know, Nick has lived in America even longer than that, so we really are a sort of a multicultural home in so many ways between Australia and America. And I also think there's far more similarities between Australia and America than there are differences. And certainly when I moved to Nashville, it felt incredibly familiar. I didn't experience any kind of culture shock at all. It was just a place that felt very much home.
Now, Canada has to feel familiar as well, because you have played up here for us a lot.
We've played in Canada so much over the years, and I have certainly said it repeatedly that from the very first time we ever played Canada, there was a connection, and I don't know if it's just the colonial spirit, the Commonwealth connection, I don't know what it is, but we just clicked immediately. And every year we've ever come up there, it's just grown in leaps and bounds, so I'm dying to come up. And the other thing that's always happened is historically, almost every song that we've had go number one in America has gone number one in Canada first.
See, that has to tell you something. Well, we can't wait to see you up here on the Light the Fuse tour. We've got Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, London, Toronto. You're going to play all of those cities sometime in January of 2014. Get here quick.
Yes, we're coming.
Keith, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. All the best with the new album Fuse, and can't wait for you to come to Canada.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, Tish, and always nice to talk to you too. Safe travels and happy destiny.
Yes, and you too.
Thank you.
We're going to wrap up our Up Close and Personal special with Keith with the current hit from the new album Fuse. Here's a little bit of everything.
Thank you for listening to Up Close and Personal with Keith Urban. Today's show was written, edited, and hosted by Tish Iceton. Produced by Anthony Conte and Wendy Duff. Thanks to Paul Jessup and Brian Chick from Universal Music Canada. And our very special guest, Keith Urban.